We believe that videos, images, words, and sounds have the absolute power to inform, inspire, and entertain. We are united under the virtues of safety and knowledge. We are a training community of learners and teachers who encourage and energize each other to achieve greatness. We are pilots, videographers, photographers, freelancers, business owners, enthusiasts, experts, and apprentices. We are creators. We are the Drone U.
Hey everyone, and welcome to an extremely informative episode of Ask Drone U. My name is Paul.
And I'm Robin. I certainly hope that it's extremely informative. We thank you for joining us for episode number 323. As always, we appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with us.
We do, and this episode is a really important one. People have been asking me all the time, Rob, what is the cheapest, fastest way to get your pilot's license if you're going to fly for a 323? FAA has been ramping up enforcement actions, even though I have audio clips of enforcers saying you don't need a valid pilot certificate, and I have audio clips of my own from saying you do need a valid pilot certificate. Seems pretty ambiguous between all the different FSDO.
It is ambiguous, but nonetheless, you're going to err on the side of
caution
and get the license.
Yes. So anyway, a lot of people have been asking me because people have said, "Oh, I could pay $5,000. I could do this. I can do that." Rihanna Lankin was originally going to ask this question, but we actually had someone else ask the question. So let's just delve right into it. Today's question is brought to you by: Are you a drone pilot? Are you operating under a Section 333 exemption? Then you may be familiar with Item 27, which requires you to get a property release for every flight over property.
Legal Flyer is an app for iPhone and iPad that helps you create professional property releases in less time than it takes to do a pre-flight check.
You can add your pilot info, you can sign it, hand it to the property owner for their signature. But wait a second. Legal Flyer's advanced integration automatically adds latitude, longitude, and even altitude.
Then add a panorama straight from the app. Everything drops into a single-page PDF you can share with a single tap. It's compliance at light speed. Visit LegalFlyer.com for more information or get it straight from the App Store. Legal Flyer. Property releases for professional drone pilots.
Hey guys, Sam here. What's the fastest and cheapest way to get your pilot certificate to fly a drone commercially? I know the pilot in command needs a certificate, but I'm not sure if I want to fly a Cessna or a balloon and spend $5 to $10,000 in the process of doing it. What's the most efficient way to do this? Thanks, guys.
So, Rob, fastest, cheapest way.
Fastest, cheapest way. Because for a while there, it was looking like a hot air balloon might be the way to go.
Yeah, and we had talked about this in a previous podcast. I think it was 275, but it's about 38 minutes in, and I just wanted to make this its own episode, really talk about it. Yes, everyone thought The Verge said hot air balloon or whatever.
Yeah, hot air balloon, whatever.
Yeah, hot air balloon was the fastest way, cheapest way to get your license. That's not true.
Well, the reality is to use a hot air balloon, it's going to take a lot of time, right? And it's a lot of prep and all that stuff goes into. And I guess that's true no matter what you're flying.
Yeah.
But hot air balloons just seem kind of cumbersome ultimately.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. And I think that there's a cheaper way. And we went out and did it and proved it ourselves that there is a cheaper way. Also, one of our students, Tyson, went out and got his hot air balloon license and had to do a windy landing and hurt his knee. So, they had a tip over, it was not a good news thing.
That's not fun. I mean, we are in Albuquerque, which of course has the largest balloon festival in the world, right?
That's true.
And so we see a lot of that stuff, and we've seen people get hurt. So balloons can be pretty dangerous, actually.
Yeah, totally. So some other people have been like, well, I want to go the Cessna route, but I don't want to spend $10,000. So, what can they do? And I've said this before. And it's funny because we were actually told before The Verge wrote about the hot air balloon license. Luke Davis was saying, hot air balloon actually does work. You can get a light sport license. And then I looked into it deeper and deeper and deeper, and I found out about powered parachute. I'm not talking powered paraglider. That's a single rotor strapped on your back like a backpack, and you're ready to go. No, powered parachute is like a little dune buggy cart.
There's actually an aircraft per se.
Yes, that has your wing is actually a parachute. I had to pack parachutes for a whole day of ground school, and let me tell you how fun that was.
We should all be so lucky, right?
Anyway, yes, but there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to getting your pilot certificate. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we've double checked, right, that these are legitimate ways and will
Yes.
suffice for the need of the 333.
Yes,
Okay.
and we know because we're doing it,
Yeah.
and we've been instructed even by FAA people that this is cool. So
Right.
anyway, that being said, powered parachute is the way to go. There are places. I think one place in Indiana says you can get in and out in 12 days for about $3,500. So far, we figured out that we can do it for about $2,400, $2,500.
Yep.
Now, if you're sleeping on your buddy's couch, or thanks to Mr. Andrew Baker sleeping in his guest room, that definitely keeps the travel costs down.
Right.
To try to help calculate, how cheap and efficient can we do it. I had a friend who just got his hot air balloon license. He was in it for $3,700. I had another friend, $4,200. Now, here's the thing: if you're taking powered parachute in California, it's going to be more expensive than $2,300. But when it comes down to taking the written exam, which is the first part, I recommend to anyone take the written first before you go to ground school.
Why?
It just makes everything easier. You're familiar with the
So you
parts
have a better
and pieces.
understanding of what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, burping the engine. You know what that means. You know about the pre-flight checklist. You know what AFD stands for. There's a lot of different things that kind of go
Right.
into that. Also, it makes learning with your instructor much easier because if you have an overbearing old man as an instructor, sometimes it's better if you can give him straight answers. I mean, I felt like I was in Catholic school again. I know, literally. It was like unless the sentence was word for word correct, I was wrong. So
Well, and the reality is that's true no matter what you're doing, business, getting your PPL. You got to know the person that you're working with and what makes them tick and how you need to respond to that, and that's true in this as well.
What do they call the suits that priests wear? I know John may know.
don't
He
know.
went to Catholic school too.
I have
Anyway,
no idea.
I'm gonna buy my instructor one when I graduate, and then do like a little clip where he's slapping my wrist with a ruler, just to visualize the ridiculousness. No, I say that because there are limitations to flying powered parachutes. You can't fly a powered parachute every day of the week. It's not going to happen. You're normally limited to about 15 miles an hour of wind. If you've got a tailwind or a crosswind that's not within about 12 degrees of your heading, it's extremely difficult to take off. So wind direction is extremely important. I had an instructor who was a little bit more safe and cautious than
conservative, yeah.
others. And
But
that's okay because
It is.
other instructors have said, I really like your instructor because they're more prepared as students than other
Right.
people. But I mean, this is really, let's be honest, a means to an end. Just to fly drones. I don't plan on,
Right.
going out every few years and be like, hey, let's go for a ride in the powered parachute.
Well, because it's not a real exciting ride. I mean, you're in the air, so that's pretty cool.
So let me put
but
this
you're
in
going,
perspective.
You're not going real fast.
They call it low and slow, so it's about 40 miles an hour,
And how high are you?
maybe 300 or 400 feet.
Okay.
So you actually get to experience what it's like with the view of a drone, but you're actually 400 feet in the air. So
Yeah.
if something does go wrong, it is your butt.
yeah, I mean,
So-
you're certainly high enough to get hurt.
Yeah,
so-
and this instructor is one of those like Top Gun guys where, I mean, my very first flight, I just took off, first flight. Guess what he does? Shuts the engine off. Where are you going to land? Literally, within the first
And you
60
didn't know it was coming?
seconds. No, and I'm like, so I'm like,
It's kind of hard to make Paul freak out like that, too. I wish I would have been there. Normally pretty calm and collected. Sorry, I
man.
missed that. I don't think you've told us that before. But it does bring up a really good point, and that is to do the research and understand your instructor and at least know what you're getting into because...
Yeah.
As I understand it, Paul, and maybe you found out more since we've last really talked about this, there's not a lot of places that you can do this. So you're probably going to have to travel.
Yes, and that is actually a big issue. Only 0.7% of the instructors are powered parachute, and the FAA has a huge problem right now because there's a shortage of CFIs, certified flight instructors, over the entire United States because the airlines and other industries needed qualified pilots, and really CFIs were the only ones that were super qualified and maintained their ratings and were able to move into these positions. So right now we're kind of seeing a crisis as far as flight instructors go. So you could be waiting, weeks and weeks just to be able to go get your powered
Right.
parachute. I mean, from the time that I stopped flying in February to my scheduled flights for May, there are now 5 students in front of me. Like, I have to wait until the first or second week of May
Right.
to finish my hours, which I still have some hours to go. But something I just realized, in Europe, if you want to fly a drone over 2 kilograms commercially, you have to prove that you have some sort of pilot certificate from your home country.
Really?
Yeah, because
That's interesting. There's probably going to be more of that coming out in the future.
Well, yeah, I just found out, I can't say the name of the company, but a very large television network had hired me this June to go to an Eastern European country and shoot for 6 days. But they're paying out the wazoo. So, hey, quality sells. And
Cool.
it's not in the United States, so it's like...
You don't have to worry, but you may have to worry about what their rules are, obviously.
Oh, no, it's a whole different set of rules. There's different qualifications you have to meet, which I'm learning because I've been filming more and more internationally. Like, I'm leaving tomorrow for another country.
Mm-hmm.
So things are really growing. And, for you guys out there who have questions about the 333, you don't want to spend the money, you can make great money in other countries without getting your pilot's license.
Yeah.
Example is Mexico.
But don't make assumptions. You got to
you
spend
need
the
to do
time
your
researching
research.
it.
You also need to respect their laws because, you get in an argument with an FAA guy, you're going to go home at the end of the day. You're in a foreign country and you get in an argument with someone who doesn't really understand what you're saying.
Right.
You could have very different circumstances.
Do you have any concern that using the powered parachute might be an issue in another country?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't believe so. Because it's still a pilot certificate. You still
Right.
have the little plastic pilot's license. So,
And ultimately what it's about is understanding airspace and those kinds of issues, not necessarily the aircraft per se.
I want to be 100% honest with you, Rob. I think having a pilot's license to fly drones is completely useless. I think that the FAA's thought process was, let's teach them about airspace so they know what they need to do with their drones. But that whole thing still isn't clear. I mean, we're going to see that get cleared up here in June with 107 or
Right.
NPRM 107 and more like standard procedures. We just saw the Senate bill get approved, but there's a lot of things in that bill that are really bad for the industry. Anyway, that being said, there is benefit to knowing airspace. There is a benefit to knowing how to speak properly with the tower. And you're not going to get yourself in trouble.
Right.
And you can have a much better conversation with some FAA guys. And you have the opportunity to create relationships with FAA guys. And I know people are like, is Paul talking positively about the FAA right now?
Well, no, you definitely want to have a good working relationship with them. It's important.
Yeah, and I wish I lived in Denver because the FSDO guys up there have been the nicest to me ever. And
Yeah.
a lot of people forget I worked for them, Rocky Mountain Air Show, 2-3 years ago. And I was doing the little test pilot thing on how to film aircraft in closed airspace with drones.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when other FAA people call me and they're rude, it's like, hey, remember, guys, I did you a favor a few years ago. So please just treat me nicely. That's all I ask. Please, please.
Scratch and we'll scratch.
Yeah.
Something like that. So how many places?
Funny thing about my back is, anyway, I'm not going to go there.
Thank you.
That's a super bad
It's really
reference.
hairy?
No. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's probably blonde, though. So, can you see my hair on my arm now?
So what are a couple options for people for powered parachute that you're aware of? I think there's one in Utah somewhere.
There's one in Utah. There's one in Colorado. That one's really backed up, though. There's one in California. John Rupert was working with a group, the 12-day group in Indiana. Again, do not have expectations to finish in 12 days. You can't fly in windy conditions. If it's over 10, you're not flying. And if you have someone who's conservative and it's over 5, you're not flying.
Right.
Stay away from those people.
Or if there's a threat of wind while you're in the air coming up, you might not fly. So you got to be really, really aware of how conservative your instructor is.
I cannot say how I truly feel on the air.
No, you can't. Thank you very much.
Oh my god.
We'll get there.
What
It'll get done.
Nightmare.
It'll get done.
You can read about it in my book, though. Anyway, so what expectations should you have for timeline? 3 to 4 weeks if you live in a dry, arid environment is pretty reasonable. 3 to 4 weeks. Cost, we calculated, what was it, $22.50 was the final
Something like that,
amount. Now we've had a little bit more travel expenses, but gas is cheap right now, which is a benefit. Stayed at a friend's house, so we're keeping it around that $2,500 mark right now. I think we're going to finish right under $3,000 total. Remember, you got to pay for your written exam, you've got to pay for ground school, the time of the pilot, your hourly aircraft rental, and then you got to pay for your check ride, which is when the FAA says, you need to tell me how to fly this aircraft. I need to see how you're going to do this. Let's go fly.
Right.
And you've got to do turns about a point. You've got to do all this stuff. So
Cool. So anyways, seems to be the way to go for now.
yes,
Till some
there's a
other-
lot of, if you really, really want to go somewhere where there are a lot of schools, just go to Pensacola, Florida. You can get it done so fast. Yeah, there are schools that will like house you on the airfield and you're like in and out as fast as possible. So
Cool. All right. So that's something to look into. Pensacola, I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, but it's a long distance for us.
It is.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it's really feasible. I mean, even when there's like wake surfing events on the East Coast, I'm like, it's just too far.
Yeah, it's kind of out of the way
Yeah.
for a New Mexican,
It's true.
no doubt. Anyways, thank you for the question.
It's
And-
real far.
Real far? If you guys have a question, go to askdroneu.com, get it in. We'll get it on the air just as soon as we can, and we appreciate them very much.
Yes, we do, guys. Thank you again for those questions. Rihanna, thank you. I know you're busy. You couldn't ask this question. Really shout out to you and all the girls that you represent in the community. We want to incorporate you more. We really love what you're doing, and thank you for being a part of the community. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us today. My name is Paul,
And I'm Rob.
and this is Ask Drone U.
We believe that videos, images, words, and sounds have the absolute power to inform, inspire, and entertain. We are united under the virtues of safety and knowledge. We are a training community of learners and teachers who encourage and energize each other to achieve greatness. We are pilots, videographers, photographers, freelancers, business owners, enthusiasts, experts, and apprentices. We are creators. We are the Drone U.